Let's speedrun 5 advanced Crysta tips. Make sure you subscribe and let's get to it. Tip number 1. You probably already know the basic Crysta combo. That is R&B shift, Q, shift backwards, and you're weaving in auto attacks between this to do maximum amounts of damage. As you end up getting the ground and the pullback, you use your ult and you're basically deleting anyone in the game. You should probably also already know that your R&B bounces off walls to make it come back faster to be able to land the ground. What you may not have thought of is combining mobility powers in order to get these combos off. Let's picture the Shrike as an enemy. I'm over here, I want to land a combo on them. But a good player, they're just going to dodge away from my R&B if I shoot it at them straight up, right? This is pretty reactive. Maybe not for the Shrike bot, but for anyone worth their salt, I would say so. Instead of praying for these max range hits to work and potentially failing, you can basically force them by using mobility skills such as blink or grappling hook. Like so. You can hit the ground like that, and then you can go ahead and do your combo from there. You can drop your Q, you can drop your ultimates, one-shots. The world is your imagination. Now, there's another way you can use mobility in order to actually hit this R&B ground, and that can be redirecting it as it comes back to you. Your R&B is going to be coming back to you, so if you fire it, say, backwards like this, and you blink or use grappling hook or some sort of mobility, maybe even your shift, you can use it to redirect it, very similar to Ari's Q and ultimate interaction inside of League of Legends. So you can do something like this, you can shift behind them, land the ground, and then you can just fire off an ultimate and rip into their health bars and delete them because this character is way too overtuned right now. Tip number 2, you can actually double the range of your Q. So this is the base range of it. But if we throw down a jump pad or use a skill such as frog jump, basically if we're in the air, we can force our Q to go to absolutely insane distances, as you can see right there. Our Q went from being max range right here to being all the way over here by the Shrike. Now this actually has a secondary use. When you're in the air like this, you can't really interact with other characters, right? Because of how verticality works in this game. But your Q ends up on the ground instantly. So you can see here, I have no interaction with the Shrike at all in the air. But this ends up on the ground instantly, and I can use it in order to actually do damage in the air. So as you're jump padding on top of your enemies or using skills such as frog jump, you can use your Q in order to interact with the enemies much earlier on. Tip number 3, Crysta's shift is basically 2 different forms of movement, similar to Ghost. So you have the ground dash like here where you can jump at the end, and if you time it pretty well, you actually go pretty far. And then the second version of this is you just simply dash in the air, which you can chain with a glide afterward. Now this dashing in the air is faster, and generally if you're moving around the map, this is what you're going to be wanting to do. But if you're in combat, often you're not going to be able to glider as you're going to get spiked. So during combat, what you want to do is instead of doing this, which is technically faster, you want to be doing the ground dash, very similar to Ghost, and using this to kite. Now keep in mind, this is something you can do during your ultimates as well. So let's say we're kiting backwards, right? I fire my ultimate. I want to be dashing like this in order to get away from the opponent, because obviously I'm not going to be able to do air dashes into glides, which means I'm making less distance that way. Here's a simple air dash versus this plus jump, and you can see that goes further. To recap, make sure you're using ground dash bunny hop tech in order to get around more inside of combat itself. Tip number 4, Crysta is actually insanely deadly over the Abyss. Her delayed auto is pretty good at spiking people, but not only that, you have 2 forms of mobility which end up getting resets. Your ultimate has insane damage and tick rate to force a spike on anyone who's even remotely under the Abyss. You have a redirectable ground in your kit, which if you didn't know, actually ends up stopping the usage of glider or any dashes. This means that if someone is somewhat low in the Abyss, you can stop them from being able to have any counterplay and they'll just fall down to their death. And you also have Q, which can be used as a zoning tool inside of the Abyss combat as well. This means Crysta can bait people pretty easily by shifting into the Abyss, trying to force things such as Jin's spike, shifting backward, throwing the ground on top of them, and then ulting it, forcing them to basically die. Normally you would think characters without spikes are not that good over Abyss, but not Crysta. So make sure you're abusing her insane mobility over the Abyss. Tip number 5 for Crysta is her interactions with CDR. So you already know CDR is really good on her because she is a caster type of character. However, what you may not know is that her attack speed from her basic attack is actually affected by CDR as well. So here's her normal basic attack speed, and you can see it's pretty slow. This is currently without any CDR items equipped. I have a Masamune and a power user right here, and I equip them, and you can see my attack speed goes out much faster. So not only are we getting faster cooldown reduction on our abilities, which is very crucial for her, but we're also getting more auto attack damage. Now, due to Crysta's auto attack reset, this technically gives us a little bit less value than it would for other characters increasing their attack speed, but it's still a little bit of a buff to her damage, and overall, it makes double tech blade an insanely worthwhile build to be going. For the highest level Crysta gameplay, make sure you subscribe and check me out live on Twitch where I stream every single day. I hope you all enjoyed these tips, and until next time, take care.